Okay, we've been working on the ground plan. Let's move on now to elevations. So we have our ground plan down here, and I want to just real quick refresh you on what we're doing with that. So what I did was spend a little more time doodling and noodling, and I've drawn rather large circles here because these are going to be major points of support for this set because we have to hold this bridge up. We're also going to need to hold whatever this element is that's up above because we're going to have a two-story building, right, left and right of the stage. And we got plenty of platform to get on and off. We can certainly narrow these up. I'd be curious to see, I have another 8 by 10. If we had an 8 by 8, that might work a little better over here. In which case we can cut some of this down, make it a little bit smaller or give us more space at center. But presently, I don't mind where we are right now. One of the tricky bits, though, is how are we going to get actors in and out, right? So I got my person here. If we want to get folks in and out, maybe we consider something in the way of a doorway here, and or whatever this element is, or drape that you can push that aside to get in and out all around. But I'm starting to think about that flow. I got my scene sheets nearby so I can begin to see what scene comes where and how this thing is going to move. But basically, to start in on my elevations, I have got a piece of trace paper here, right? And I should put some sticky notes, or sticky, my little drafting dots there to hold it down. But I think just to keep things going, I've lined it up. I don't know if you can see that very well with my T-square. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to come up about an inch from the bottom, maybe a bit more. And I'm just going to draw a straight line across, right? So now I have my piece of trace paper with a baseline on it, right? And so what I'm going to do is come over here, and actually, how much space am I going to get? Well, I'll get a certain amount of it. No, I guess I'll start over here just because this is the side we've been working on. And I can make a mark here, then it's going to turn the corner, right? And so then literally I am turning the corner. And I'm going to come over to here, right? See where that'll turn. And then I'm going to come to here. And that'll come around the corner. And I've got just about enough space. I didn't start quite close, but I got just enough space, I think, to make this work. I'd have to get some more trace paper and work all that in there. But now I have the actual distances running between these, right? And I can take my person, I can see how that's going to work with proportion. But I think actually what I'm going to do instead is get myself my elevation, which is right here, right? And this shows the building from the view of the audience. So I'm going to, since I only have one drawing board, just for now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and I would get my drafting dots, and I can set this thing up. I can use my scale rule, right? And I can see, okay, I have 17 feet. I'm going to center that at 18. I'm going to go 9 feet. There's the center line. CL is my code for that. So then what I can do is get more drafting dots. Ta-da, ta-da. And I can take my T-square, right? And I'm going to line this up, and I can check it in a couple of different ways. I can line it up this way to make sure I'm straight. That's probably easiest for what I'm doing. And again, I think I'm just going to put them down in 2 of the corners, these little drafting dots. So I think you can see what I'm doing there, right? Good. Yeah, that's good. And then I can take this and I'm going to just center it. Now, this is a little different than what actually the amount of space that I have here left to right. And that's okay, because what I'm most interested in here is looking at heights. Okay, so I put this on the center line. Remember, I didn't have quite enough trace paper. I probably should have got one of those big 11 by 17 pieces, but be that as it may, I've got my little person I can put here, but very quickly I can take my T-square, because I lined everything up, and I can draw in where my balcony line is, and therefore where I am putting my bridge height. And so I could do that with dotted lines, but basically I'm drawing with faint lines here. I'll put my center line in just so I know what's going on. And I don't want to get too tall, but you see how I put this baseline down here on the stage floor and it all lined up? Right. Now, if I am finding myself a little frustrated by looking at all these lines here, I mean, really what I'm trying to keep track of is that I'm not getting up too high above the grid. But again, I can take my little person here and look at this. Now, I know that one of the key elements is these supports, right? And so I'm going to just give myself some lines here. This is where these things turn and intersect. And actually, I probably, for the sake of what I'm doing, would go up here, go pretty high with this. Can you see how I'm drawing up and up, right? And then this is that other facade. So this is where the wagon is going to ride, down in here. And over here is where my other wagon is going to ride, right? And I can give this some thickness. This is where the return is. So, right, I got this all laid in. Now, I've got quite a few lines going. So one thing that I like to do is keep a piece of blank paper around once I get all this roughed in. And maybe I'll go ahead and add these other lines real quick to take this up. Okay. Now, one thing I can do very quickly is pop this under there. Nice. Now, because I got my little person here, I can keep a sense of proportion handy, but I think I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/4 inch scale and get myself a person drawn in anyhow. Hopefully that won't get in the way. I usually use about 6 feet because I figure anybody shorter can still get underneath whatever entrance ways or doorways. And very quickly, I just try to draw a little squiggly person in there so that I have a sense of proportion now. So this is where you kind of sit here going, what should I do? That's when you get all your research collages and you lay them out here. And then you can begin to draw the elements that you're thinking of. Now, one possibility in that ground plan underneath here is that these wagons, what is it that hides these wagons? Well, maybe there are doors. Can you see how I'm drawing this here? Maybe there are doors that swing open to reveal the inside and let the wagon go. So that would be a heck of a swing there. And this would be a heck of a swing there. But you would then have a wall here and a wall here, pretty big wall, because you're talking a good, would we say this is 10 feet, right, from side to side. So there's a big 6 foot wide door here and a 6 foot wide door there. So potentially I could have my, well, paper just came up, to make sure I'm nice and square here, or it's going to get weird when I draw it. See, I'm lining that up. Now so I think splitting this in half with some kind of door is going to work really well. So I have taken my scale rule. Sorry, I'm doing things so you can't see them. I'll try spinning it around. Here's my 12 feet. I got this at center, and then I've got me a door that opens here down below, right? So I'm going to have some kind of central element there as these doors open. And because it's a Tudor building I'm thinking about, I can put more beams in here for my architecture. But basically, I'm flying blind until I get my research collages. And again, have them handy so that you can start to draw and see what these buildings might be. Now, you can be all precise with your ruler and OCD about all that, or you can just sit and sketch, as I often do. But I got my person here, so I know how big things are. I'm putting in a little bit of a roof line. Maybe this facade stays up solid all the time. This doesn't open, because it'd be weird trying to open a door up above. Or maybe one is really tall and it swings open, so when you see it over here, you get this whole thing going on. But I can also think about, what's this railing here? The nice thing about the railing in this is that you can do a kind of a city and put some sort of silhouette back here between these buildings. Start to doodle a little bit of what that might be. But I also have this return here, so I have to think about what might be on that wall. What's this begin to look like? So I'm starting to rough things in, and maybe there's some windows. I don't know. Again, I need my research. Then I've got my drapes here, and maybe there's something here that's architectural that gives me a door so that these drapes have something to pull behind. No, then you trip on that. I don't know. See, so I'm starting to think about what this all might be, and I doodle it and sketch it very roughly just to begin to see how this stuff comes together, right? And I'll show you the next step as far as the model goes, which is to take this and make a photocopy and cut it out and stand it up and see what it starts to look like in terms of architecture. Okay, so we'll move on to that step next.